Welcome back, students. Let us start with the seventh chapter, Glimpses of India. In this chapter, we will be seeing three main states which is famous for particular things. Now, let us read each one and see. First one is A Baker from Goa, written by Lucio Rodriguez, Coorg by Lokesh Abrol, Tea from Assam by Arup Kumar Datta. Now, let us see an activity before you read. Now imagine what images of people and of places come to your mind when you think of a country. Now, if you go to see a country is in a different culture, they have different skin tones, different regions have different traditions, and they celebrate different festivals. So, ours is a multicultural, multilinguistic, everything comes under a country. So, when you think about a place, we usually have different opinions about that place depending on their culture or by the way the people are in that place. Now, what parts of India have you lived in or visited? Can you name some popular tourist destinations? You may know that apart from the British, the Dutch, and the French, the Portuguese have also played a part in the history of our country. Can you say which parts of India show French and Portuguese influences? Can you say which part of India grow tea and coffee? So we know that in India we have also different climatic condition, so we grow different crop or different yield of farming in different places. It is famous for now tea is famous in Assam, coffee is also famous in Kerala, Karnataka, all these places. So it is multilinguistic, multicultural. So let us see three main places which is coming under glimpses of India. Now the first one is A Baker from Goa, written by Lucio Rodriguez. Now, this is a pen portrait of a traditional Goan village baker who still has an important places in this society. Even today, people in Goa wait for this bakers, or you can say a padir. Now, here, if you go to see, the lesson begins with how narrator's elder often recall the time when Goa was under the rule of the Portuguese. Now, the story takes back us to the time when Portuguese ruled Goa. They were immensely famous for their bread. The narrator often finds his elders thinking about those good old days and telling them that the famous breads date back the time when Portuguese ruled over Goa. They ponder over the past and tell them that though the Portuguese have left Goa, but the bakers of bread still exist. If not the original ones, their legacy is being continued by their sons. The bakers are still being referred to as Paders. So, still in Goa, they call them as Pader. Everything about baking is still the same. Starting from those with the mold, the bread loaves, to the furnaces which have survived the ravages of time. The sound of their arrival and the thud of that bamboo stick can still be heard just like the olden time. So they're recollecting their past and they're talking about how the bakers or the pader used to arrive during that time. Let us continue. The narrator recalls the baker acted as their friend and companion during their childhood days in Goa. The baker used to visit twice a day. So usually they visit once while he was on the round to sell his loaves and the other time while returning back with his empty basket, having sold all the loaves. Now it was the sound of the bamboo stick that woke the children up. The children were so excited to meet him and chose from the bread bangles or cancon he made especially for them. While the bangles were for children, loaves were for the adults that were generally collected by the maid servant of the household. So usually they have bread bangles, usually bread made in form of bangles, and that were usually preferred by children. So the person who was in charge of collecting the bread were the maid servant of the household. Next, in next para, usually the baker often made a musical entry with his bamboo stick. His one hand supported the basket on his head while the other banged the bamboo on the ground. Nowadays, if you go to Goa, you can see the Padets usually come in their cycle, they ring their bell and people go out. But olden times, they used to come walking with a basket in their head and they had a bamboo stick which made a thundering sound. He would go house to house and greet the ladies before handing them over the loaves. So every day there is a quota for people there. They collect the bread every day. It is like their staple food there. The parents would scold the children and make them stand aside. But as eager as they were, they would climb a bench or the wall to peep into the basket. They did not even bother to brush their teeth before having those bread bangles because it seemed unnecessary effort to them to pluck mango leaves from the branches to use them for brushing the teeth. They considered brushing unnecessary because the hot tea could effortlessly wash their mouth, and they thought that animals like the tiger never brush their teeth. In next, we can see how bread was an important part of the Goan culture, how they were into their traditional and cultural bases. Now, bread is an important part of the Goan culture, and it is evident from its presence at every important occasions. From sweet breads at marriages to sandwiches at engagement parties and the cakes and coconut cookies at Christmas as well as their occasions make the presence of the baker in every village very essential. So even during the marriage period, they have to have something from the bakers. Especially bread plays an important role in their cultural system. Now the bakers had a way of making monthly record of bills, and bakers were known to have worn unique knee-length frock dresses typically known as kabai. In the narrator's childhood days, he had seen them wearing shirt and pants. Even now, they are wearing shirt and pants, which is described correctly here, whose length was shorter than the usual ones. It was a part of their identity, so much so that even if someone wears that trouser length now, he is said to have dressed like a baker or a pader, as was said in olden times. Now, the baker had a way of making monthly record of bills on a wall using a pencil and then collecting the money at the end of the month. Baking has always been a profitable profession. The baker's family had workers had always been happy and joyous. The baker was usually fat, which is proof that he had a lot to eat and hence was a proof of his richness. Even to this day, someone with a well built body is compared to a baker. So, this was part 1 of the Glimpses of India, a baker from Goa by Lucio Rodriguez. This is the part 2 of chapter 7, Glimpses of India, which is term named as Coorg by Lokesh Abrol. Now, Coorg is a coffee country famous for its rainforest and spices. Now, this lesson gives us a beautiful insight of the smallest district of Karnataka and its people. The place has an amazing weather throughout the year with enough rain during the monsoon season. The people of Coorg are known to be one of the bravest. Coffee is the main crop grown in this region. A variety of animals can be found here, while the place is surrounded by beautiful Brahmagiri, Brahmagiri hills, islands, and Tibetan settlements. Now let us see what the writer is describing and what is Coorg famous for. Now if you starting the now if you go through the starting of the chapter, you can see a small description of Coorg. Now here Coorg is a place so beautiful that it seems like a piece of heaven has drifted away from God's kingdom and has settled on the earth. It is somewhere in between Mysore and Mangalore. It is an area with low hills of unequal height. The men are braver warriors, the women of Coorg are pretty. This place has a variety of wild trees, animals, birds, etc. Now, Coorg is also known as Kodagu. It is one of the smallest districts of Karnataka. 30% of the area of Coorg is covered with evergreen rainforest and the place receives rain for most part of the year, especially during the monsoon season. The period from September to March is ideal for visiting Coorg. The weather is pleasant and there is some rain which makes it worthwhile. The air is filled with the strong fragrance of coffee due to the abundant coffee plantation. The people of Coorg are believed to be of Greek or Arabic background and are generally ferocious. This theory came into being because of their dressing style. They are generally seen wearing long and black coat with embroidered waist belt known as kupia. Kupia is similar to the kufia worn by the Arabs and Kurds. It is also rumored that some people of Alexander's army could not return to their homeland and so settled here while returning from the south. The people of Coorg marry each other, and their cultures as well as rituals are very different from the ones followed by the Hindus. In the next part, you can see the people of Coorg are very welcoming and warm in nature. They are always ready to entertain with stories of their ancestors. They are known to be independent, ferocious, and brave, which is evident from the fact that the Coorg Regiment in the Indian Army has received the maximum number of the awards for bravery. The first chief of the Indian Army, named General Cariappa, belonged to the Coorg. Also, these are the only people permitted to carry firearms freely, unlike others who need a license. This shows that the Coorgis are reliable too. Now we can see a side view of the Coorg. The evergreen forest and the hills of Coorg provide water to River Kaveri, a major river in South India. A large freshwater fish called Mahashir is found in this water and is looked for by the birds. Squirrels and langurs play in this water by throwing half eaten fruits, whereas elephants enjoy bathing in it. Now, if you go to see the tourists who visit Coorg to relax in nature, natural beauty of the place also get attracted towards the various adventure sports activities available like river rafting, canoeing, rappelling, rock climbing and mountain climbing. The hills have various paths formed by footsteps of walkers who trek there. Now, while taking a walk in the region, one may find a variety of animals around them. Birds, bees, and butterflies fly around you while squirrels and langurs keep an eye on you from the trees. Wild elephant can also be found in Coorg. Now, if you go to see, the panoramic view is adventurous and it is mostly the most beautiful place. Now, to have an overall look at the beautiful city of Coorg, one must climb up to the Brahmagiri hills. Coorg is surrounded by astounding places of beauty like the island of Nisargandama and Byalkupe, which is India's largest Tibetan settlements. Monks wearing red, orange, and yellow color garments can also be found in the district of Coorg, where their lifestyle is a fascinating view for the travelers. A mix of diverse cultures can be seen here, which represent the heart and soul of India. So, this was the chapter Coorg all about, or the part 2 Coorg, written by Lokesh Brawl. Third part of the seventh chapter, Tea from Assam, written by Arup Kumar Datta. Let us see the introduction. Pranjal, a youngster from Assam, is Rajvir's classmate at school in Delhi. Pranjal's father is the manager of a tea garden in Upper Assam, and Pranjal has invited Rajvir to visit his home during the summer vacation. Now, Tea from Assam is a lesson about two friends, Pranjal and Rajveer, who are traveling to Pranjal's hometown Assam for the summer vacation. Assam is known as a tree country. It has the largest concentration of plantation in the world. Now, during their journey, they discuss about the various legends that are known to have discovered tea. The story tells us about the popularity of tea as a beverage. Now, in the starting of the story, we can see a scene is set on a train station where a tea vendor asks the two friends if they would like to buy some freshly made hot tea. They decide to have 2 cups of tea, joining almost everyone else in their compartment. With this, Pranjal highlights the fact that almost 80 crore cups of tea are consumed every day throughout the world, while Rajveer remains surprised on listening to it. Indeed, tea is a popular beverage all over the world. Now, as soon as the train started moving, Pranjal got engaged in reading his detective book. Both the friends were huge fan of detective books, but Rajveer chose to look at the scenic beauty at the moment. There was greenery all around, something Rajveer had never seen before. After the green paddy fields came tea plantations. As far as he was able to look, only tea bushes were visible, so much so that the narrator compared it to sea of tea bushes. In the background, there were hills with dense forests. In between the tea plantation, there were orderly rows of tall and strong trees that were moving because of the wind. It was an amazing view. Now, as the train was moving, next Rajveer saw was an ugly looking building with smoke coming out of it. It was a tea garden. Rajveer got excited, but Pranjal, who had seen all of it during his childhood, didn't match up to his friend's level of enthusiasm. Pranjal tells him that they have entered Assam, which is known as the tea country. The state has the maximum number of tea plantations in the world. Before visiting the tea country, Rajveer reads a lot about tea and how it was discovered. There were numerous theories, and one of which was about a Chinese emperor who had a habit of drinking boiled water. Once upon a time, when he was boiling that water, few leaves fell into it and it tasted delicious. It is said that those leaves were tea leaves. Now, on being asked by Pranjal, Rajveer told another story about an Indian legend named Bodhidharma. He was a Buddhist monk who had cut his eyelids because he used to feel sleepy while meditating. Eventually, tea plants grew out of his eyelids, which, upon consuming after boiling with water, helped in getting rid of sleep. Further, Rajveer highlighted a few facts that stated that tea dates back to 2700 BC and was first consumed in China. All such words such as chai and chini have originated from Chinese language. Tea was introduced to Europe quite late in the 16th century where it was considered to have medicinal properties. Now the train had stopped and the boys reached their destination where they gathered their luggage and deboarded the train only to find a platform that was too crowded. Pranjol's parents had come to receive them. After almost an hour, they reached Dekhyabari Pranjol's tea garden after taking a turn and making their way through a cattle bridge. Their tea gardens were stretched upon a vast area of land. All the bushes were cut to the same height, and they had been taken care of. On the fields, tea pluckers were seen wearing an apron and carrying the bamboo baskets in order to pluck the freshly sprouted leaves. Now, on their way to the fields, Pranjal's father gave way to a tractor that was loaded with tea leaves. On seeing this, Rajveer flaunts his knowledge by mentioning that this is the second sprouting period of the year that lasts from May to July and gives excellent yield. Prajal's father, who seemed impressed, replies that he seems to have done a lot of research before coming. Pranjal, who was excited about learning more about the amazing beverage, showed his intention for the same. Now, this was a story from Tea from Assam, written by Arup Kumar Datta. Thank you for listening and have a nice day.